Mikel Arteta took over from Arsenal in December 2019, the club was a tactical mess. We were fragile defensively, we were structurally chaotic, we were miles away from the likes of Man City and Liverpool. But he did something unexpected. He used a 3-4-3 setup to calm the storm, win the FA Cup, and he evolved his tactics to where we are. 6 years on, Arsenal are now title challengers for the past three campaigns, and they are odds on to win the big one this year. Having this tactical review with me today is my man Tineluki. How you doing, brother?
Very good, bro. Nice to be back on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So without further ado, let's just get into it. The chaos that Arteta inherited in 2019. What was your take on Unai Emery's spell at Arsenal from a tactical perspective?
Okay, so Tony, like you mentioned with the intro, when Mikel arrived at the club in the winter of 2019, we were in one of our most unstable periods in decades. Like the post Wenger Arsenal, after the short tenure of Unai Emery, left the team that didn't have any clear tactical identity. Okay, so key issues that Arteta inherited when he came to the club was, first of all, there was no defensive organization. The team was defensively disorganized. Arsenal were conceding way too many chances. I remember one certain Wolves game match that set the record for shots conceded by Arsenal. It was a disaster. It was under Unai Emery. So we didn't have any clear pressing structure. I mean, players were pressing individually. This guy will run, they'll play a rondo around him. No structure. Weak midfield. We had no control in midfield. We struggled to dominate games. And the composition of the squad was a bit unbalanced, like top heavy. You had Lacazette, you had Aubameyang, you had some decent attackers, Mesut Ozil, but they didn't have the structure behind the ball to aid them. So when Arteta came, he inherited a club that was, I can remember his first press conference, he said that he didn't feel like it was, that there was no spirit in the club. Like the culture was gone. There was just, the club was at a very low ebb, So his immediate focus was, first of all, to not to start doing attacking football or to start rebuilding tactics. First of all, we needed to do a cultural rebuild, okay? Bring back discipline to the club, rebuild the bond the team had with the fans, and give the club a clear tactical identity. So this was, like you mentioned, the chaos he inherited. This was what he inherited, and this was the immediate task at hand when he came. It was a daunting task for a manager that had zero experience coaching a club. It was a big move for him, and it turned out pretty well for him.
Yeah, and still sticking with the chaos. Remember the drama that happened between Granit Xhaka losing the captain's armband and was already ready to leave the club, only for Arteta to have that discussion with him and for him to take that U-turn. How important was Xhaka to Arteta's plans early on and when he finally left?
So I recall, like, one of the labels that pundits used to throw out about Arsenal was always that there were no leaders in the club, in the team. So that was a clear example. The disconnect between the captain and the fans was much. But Mikel recognized, even before he came to Arsenal, that Xhaka had the mentality and the mindset to lead the squad, and he just needed to give him a clear tactical identity. So what happened was that there were too many players in Arsenal that didn't have an identity. They didn't know what was going on the pitch. They didn't have roles. Mikel had to come in and find a way to start rebuilding their confidence and start giving instructions at a granular level to build up the team again. So I think as we progress in this episode, we are going to explore the different stages of our tactical evolution and what was changed or what he implemented to help the club evolve.
Awesome.
But the key thing was the culture. He had to change the first culture, discipline. If you were not on board with the discipline and the cultural change, you had to go.
True, true. Now let's talk about the long-term vision. He was a manager under Pep Guardiola, and there is some expectation, despite the fact that this was his first job, no doubt. But spending time with Pep could have at least allowed him to gain some kind of experience that he needed to now showcase at this level. In your own opinion, were there any clashes with him trying to adopt Pep style early on, or do you think he just wanted to use his own approach and now move on as the game went on?
So prior to even going to Pep, so I always tell people that Mikel is a coaching wonder kid. So the way you have football wonder kid, you have coaching mavericks. And he's not just a coaching maverick, he's also he's a deep thinker, okay?
Yeah.
Because as far back as when he was still playing for Arsenal, this is documented, and if you've read the book, there's a Manchester City book actually, The Building of a Super Club by Paul Bios. Paul Bios documented that when Arteta was still the captain of Arsenal, and Arsenal and Manchester, no, it was Barcelona, had a game with Chelsea. Pep called him. It was a player. It was a footballer. He called him to ask him what he felt about Chelsea, and required, Pep noted that the feedback that Arteta gave him was coach grade, report. It was a scouting report that was a manager grade report. And he noted that when he retired, he made him a job offer then, that he would like to work with him. So that is stuck in Mikel Arteta's head. So why I had to go back to this anecdote is to give you a background of the kind of man he was. He was already thinking about football beyond playing. He took his coaching badges early, and when he had the opportunity to go and work for Pep Guardiola, he took the opportunity. So he learned as a player, he learned under his coaches, and when he retired, he learned under the best manager in the world then. So I think he came to Arsenal pretty much green, but prepared enough. He was not just a regular manager. He had the confidence in him to take on such a daunting rebuild job, because the work the club he took over wasn't an easy job to take over. But he took over a daunting job, and he believed he had the tools to do the job. And I think time has showed that he was right in taking the job.
Awesome. So let's go to the next slide. And this talks about the 3-4-3 setup that helped us now win the FA Cup. The FA Cup run saw us play Sheffield United in the quarterfinals, where we had a late goal from Danny Ceballos. Then we went to the semi-finals against Man City, where Aubameyang scored a brace. And of course, the finals against Chelsea, where Aubameyang also was the hero of the team again, scoring a brace to win Arsenal's first trophy and only trophy so far in the club, because I don't count the Community Shield. But one key thing to note was that the 3-4-3 was set up around defensive security and counter-attacking efficiency, with the likes of David Luiz, Kylian Tierney holding, and of course we had Xhaka and Ceballos in the middle, while Aubameyang, Pepe, and Lacazette led the line. So the first question I would ask you is, what was your take on that formation at that point in time? Was it the best we could offer as a club?
Yeah, because when he took over, based on what he met on ground, his first job on the pitch was to stabilize the team quickly, So that wasn't the time to start doing any patterns of player attacking football. He stabilized the team, he introduced the 3-4-3 system, and the purpose of this system was simple: to protect the defense, create a compact midfield, have a compact midfield block, and now play on the counter. So the system relied a lot on counter-attacking, especially with the pace of Aubameyang.
Yeah.
Okay, so the key tactical ideas in the 3-4-3 system that Arteta deployed was a back three to give us defensive security, then wing backs for width. So then he wasn't playing wingers, actual wingers for width. We're using wing backs. You remember Kieran Tierney flying down the left
Yeah.
for width. Then we had a double pivot of two central midfielders to control transitions. Because
Yeah.
when we met the team was always the counter attack everywhere was spread open. So he built a rigid team. Okay. Then fast attacks into space. When you get the ball, that long ball into Aubameyang, that out ball was always there. So this approach was very effective in that FA Cup run, especially in the final when we first of all it was the semi-finals where we beat a very strong Manchester City team, and in
Yeah.
the final where we beat Chelsea. So that wasn't a long-term philosophy, but it just gave Arsenal the defensive stability and immediate success that the man needed for him to keep his job. Because remember, at that point, he hadn't done anything that would buy him time. So he needed to, stabilize the club, play football that wasn't very good to watch, but was able to stop the bleeding. The
Yeah.
what's his name? The previous coach,
Emery.
Emery's team that bled counter that was so open that used to concede multiple shots in the match. All that had to stop, and with that 3-4-3 system, that was what he was able to achieve with that system.
Yeah, awesome. I had a couple of folks in the chat. Kelechi talking about how counter attack was just a fancy word for kick and run.
It
But
is absolutely.
yeah, I agree. And I'm just looking at the squad that played in the FA Cup final against Chelsea. We had Emiliano Martinez in goal. It was Holding, David Luiz, and Tierney as the three centre backs. Bellerin and Maitland-Niles were the wing backs. Ceballos and Xhaka in the middle. Then Aubameyang, Pepe, and Lacazette. Now, when you think of folks like Bellerin and Maitland-Niles, why do you think the club moved away from them swiftly?
So I mean, it still boils down to the standards raising. So when Mikel came, Bellerin was obviously played as a fullback. Between him getting injured and him not meeting up with the required standards of dwelling and winning, and that's basically it. If the kitchen became too hot, you will leave. So that's what
Yeah.
happened. Bellerin was, I think, what Bellerin when he broke into the Arsenal was a revelation. I think the first season he played when my Debuchy got injured, he took over.
Yeah.
He was a brilliant player under Arsene Wenger.
Wenger, yeah.
But there was a period where he went through a series of injuries and he came back. He adopted an alt lifestyle, became a vegetarian. Just
Mm.
a lot of things changed in his life. It was almost like he stepped back from the game and became more interested in the other aspects of life that gave
Yeah.
him happiness. So, I mean, it is a natural progression for him, but the club moved away from him. Maitland-Niles, on the other hand, I think missed an opportunity because there was a time he had that opportunity to become an Arsenal right wing back, but
Yeah.
he was insistent on playing in the midfield where there was no space for him. A few times Mikel deployed him on the right as a right wing back. He played very well,
Yeah.
but he kept feeding to the new press or his agents that he wants to play as a central midfielder. So I believe that as a footballer, especially a young player, you should your aim should be minutes on the pitch.
Yeah.
Even
Yes.
if you are required to play Bukayo Saka played left back for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you are required to play in a role that might not exactly suit you, you start there, just keep getting minutes. Because what will happen is if you do not eventually get to find your place in that team, you will be found by another club that can take you because you've showed a certain level of talent on the pitch. So I believe Niles could have retrained to a proper wing back, but it never happened for him and
True.
a lot of
True.
other players in that era.
Then one thing that comes to mind, the guy that's on the picture here, Bameyang, he was so instrumental in Arsenal
So
FA Cup win and
so
all
good.
that. So Do you still have any regrets of how his career ended with us? And do we still miss a striker like him at the club?
Well, I think I miss him. No, Aubameyang was still one of my favorite Arsenal players in the Emirates era. He kept the club, comp- um, he kept us up when there was nobody else. Okay,
Yeah,
so he won us our only trophy in the at least proper trophy, major trophy in the last 5 6 years. So I mean, he has a place in the Arsenal folklore. What I think happened with him was as the club started moving away from this 3-4-3 system and into a more positional system
yeah,
where they require the forwards to be a bit more
dynamic.
dynamic, part of the defensive phase. So you have to play in all the phases. He didn't have the on pitch discipline to do that. One, then two, out of the pitch, Mikel trusted him as
The captain.
to be the captain, to be one of the leading lights of the
Yeah,
younger players. And for whatever, I mean, I don't know exactly what happened. We've heard the stories, but it was clear that he was not the most disciplined player
yeah,
off the pitch. So the coach had to take a decision to either sometimes you have to kill your darlings for the team to grow. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
So it was about if you were going to if you keep hammering that these are the standards you want everybody to live by, and your best player, your captain, flaunts the rules. It's just like in a workplace. If you do not set um the standard, everybody is going to operate below the standard of the leader. And
yeah,
as Obama was the leader of the club, if he was dropping the ball off the pitch, how there will Emil Smith Rowe or Bukayo Saka have an icon or rather a role model within the senior team to look
mm,
up to? So
true.
I believe it was a necessary decision. Then we might not have agreed with it, but as we've seen the way we've seen the club evolve, it was probably a necessary decision to get the rest of the players to buy into the culture that the manager was trying to promote. Have we missed a striker like him? I think the Arsenal has moved away from that kind of striker. The way we play now, it requires a different kind of striker. So
Yeah,
I think I wouldn't say we miss him on the pitch, but we miss a character like a prolific. I wish we could have a striker that was prolific and still fit.
Nigeria. You're muted.
I don't know how that happened. Okay, good.
Okay, go
Yes, I
ahead.
was saying that I wish we had a striker that was more prolific and still fit into our game model and was fit and available. What I miss about Obama Young was his availability. He was
Yeah,
rarely
yeah,
injured.
he was a mini monster for us actually.
Unlike Kai Havertz that probably plays 3 matches, 10 or 13 games a season these days.
I
So we
agree.
need to fix that.
A couple of love from the chat. Anis, thanks for being here. So let's transition to the next phase, which is the point where I felt abandoned the back three. You know, in as much as we got the FA Cup trophy with the 3-4-3 setup, 3-4-3 had its limitations. It sacrificed midfield control. We struggled to dominate possession and we had very, very serious troubles in breaking down defensive blocks. So, as a football lover, avid tactical, person like you, what's the fundamental difference between the 3-4-3 setup and maybe a 4-3-3 setup in terms of dominating play?
So why he abandoned the back three can be really summed up in after the FA Cup win, we started moving away from the back three system. Okay, the main limitation of that back three system, like you had mentioned earlier, is control. The system allowed Arsenal to defend very well, but it made it harder for us to dominate position and dictate matches. And
Yes.
Arteta's vision from day one was influenced by what he learned working under Pep
Pep.
Guardiola. Okay, so he wanted Arsenal to dominate possession. He wanted Arsenal to control territory. He wanted Arsenal to build attacks consistently through positional play. And to do that, we needed to leave that system and change some of the players that we had. We needed to recruit a better ball playing defenders, more
Mhm.
technical midfielders, and at least players that are comfortable in receiving the ball under pressure.
Yeah.
So when you are transitioning from the 3-4, 3 system to the next era, 4
Yeah.
4-2-3-1, we needed to change some of these aspects of the game, and that required a squad rebuild.
Mm.
So this was the point where to change the game. That was when our squad rebuild started.
Yes.
After that FA Cup win, we now had to start over a period of 6 to 7 windows, rebuild the entire squad from scratch.
From scratch. Yeah, I agree. Because basically every position was affected from
Yeah.
Ramsdale in goal to the folks up there. And I was also thinking about the fact that for us to become a title challenging team, there are more things that are required, like midfield control, like positioning the ball fluidly, like having more players in between the lines and having more creativity. When Mesut Ozil left the club after he was frozen out, how did Arsenal cope with that creative burden under the new setup?
So you recall that after Mesut Ozil signed, but by the time Mesut Ozil left, we signed Thomas Partey
Yeah.
and introduced Bukayo Saka and Smith Rowe into
Mhm.
the team. So this period signaled the beginning of Arsenal's sort of youth-driven rebuild.
Yeah.
Okay, the team started pressing higher and trying to play more progressive football. Obviously, they still lack the technical quality to fully execute the long-term tactical vision of the coach, but the seeds of the future was sowed then, and you had players like Smith Rowe and Saka playing, almost replacing some of the creativity that had been lost
Yeah.
by getting rid
Ozil.
of Ozil. So that was the phase. It's sort of a transitional phase between when we lost Ozil and when we finally got to Odegaard and the subsequent tactical evolutions
Makes
that
sense.
followed.
Okay, now let's talk about our transitional 4-2-3-1 era. This was where we started dominating because in 21-22 we actually allowed the likes of Smith Rowe and Saka to play so much football and they kind of propelled us to a certain degree. But as you know, we lost out on Champions League qualification to Tottenham under Antonio Conte. So looking at that team, right, that finished fifth place, and the very next season, which was 22-23, which all of a sudden we're almost about to win the league, but already crashed out in the business end. What were the significant changes in your own opinion?
So if I recall the match that Arteta made this week, it was Boxing Day. Believe was Boxing Day 2000 when he had gone on a horrible run, and I think it was like 9 matches. It's a properly documented run that everybody said,
Yeah,
"How did Arteta survive this
that being
this
sacked.
run?" You know. So it was Boxing Day. We had Chelsea, and he brought in Smith Rowe and Saka to start Martinelli and changed the formation to 4-2-3-1, and that was
Yeah,
how that era started. So this formation allowed the team to maintain defensive stability while introducing more creative players into central areas. So we started accessing areas that we previously didn't access on the football pitch with central penetrative runs from Smith Rowe. So that was what changed. The major tactical change in with this system was accessing the center. We started playing around the center more, and it started opening the team up to a better control of the pitch match, and we
awesome.
stopped relying a lot on counter attacks and became a bit more, slightly more ball dominant, not completely, but I mean, it helped the team. Remember that after that run, by the time Arsenal went on a fantastic run till towards May when a couple of injuries came and they derailed and they didn't qualify for the Champions League. But it was now
Yeah.
clear to everybody that the team had an identity and was growing to fulfill the plans the coach had.
Yeah. So speaking of the central attacks, he loaned the certain Martin Odegaard from Real Madrid and made
Yes.
the deal permanent for £35 million. And I think at that point in time, the fans wanted James Madison. Many more years down the line, what's your take on that Odegaard versus Madison debate? Who do you think could have been a better fit for the club? Instead of this system that Arteta was trying to adopt.
Oh, Odegaard, absolutely, 100%. It was Martin Odegaard was built for Arsenal Arteta football. You know, Odegaard is like the coach on the pitch. In fact, sometimes I blame him. I think he's too much of a coach on the pitch. He forgets that he's also a player. He should, you need to play too and not point out to everybody where they need to stand. But you see, that's
Yeah.
why whenever he's fit and 100% available, Mikel plays him because he's almost like Mikel on the pitch. They think
Yeah.
about football the same way. They play football. He's a typical, you know, positional attacking midfielder.
Awesome. Awesome.
So
I agree. And now let's now have some more focus on 22-23, which was our positional play revolution.
yeah,
In this campaign, we saw Alexander Zinchenko coming from Man City and start inverting to midfield, and this created like a box-like structure to allow the likes of Thomas Partey and Odegaard play alongside him, and also liberated Granit Xhaka, who actually had his best scoring season for us as a club. Suddenly, we started controlling matches well, we started creating high-quality chances, we started pressing aggressively, dominating territory, and it was very evident because that season we scored 88 goals in the
club
Premier
record.
League, which was a club record. Unfortunately, it was not enough to win the Premier League, but what stood out for you in that 22-23 campaign, and what did we then keep on going forward with?
So for me, the positional play revolution was when the real transformation began under Arteta, where he started to implement his full principles and how he wanted us to play. By then, he has, like you mentioned, brought in extra players that allowed the team play in certain areas of the pitch.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I believe most football people are familiar with the term positional play, but just for maybe somebody that has not, doesn't really follow the tactical evolutions of football, positional play really focuses on controlling space and
Yeah.
creating numerical advantages all over the pitch. So the idea is that you maintain optimal distances between players. I'm sure if you've seen some of the training videos from that era, or maybe Pep probably popularized positional football, made it more mainstream, where
Yeah.
they divide the pitch into 5 lanes, and now
Mm-hmm.
you have the 5 lanes of attack and maintaining optimal distances between two players. No, each lane shouldn't be occupied by more than 2 players at each time.
Yeah.
Creating triangles and passing options, controlling central zones of the pitch. I mean, some of these things are no more. They are no secrets anymore. They used to be
Anymore.
big deals there, but it's everybody can run it from roll it out from the tip of their tongue now. So
Yeah.
the key signings that helped us to unlock this system were Martin Odegaard, Ben White, Gabriel Magalhaes, because he was able to bring better ball playing from the back. Okay,
Yeah.
then crucially, Zinchenko coming to the club enabled him to create those central overloads that help you dominate and control matches
Mm-hmm.
optimally in this system. So he came to the club. That's why whenever Zinchenko is mentioned in the Arsenal, tactical evolution, I give him his flowers because when
Yeah.
he came with Jesus,
Yeah, he was
they
a game
changed
changer, man.
they changed our world. Listen,
Yeah,
we
I
became
agree.
title challengers when Zinchenko stepped into midfield, and we were like, "What is going on? What are we doing here?" People were. It was all over the place. Okay,
Yeah.
dominated teams, complete scored 88 goals. It was that. In fact, people still prefer that brand of Arsenal to some of the things the modern Mikel's
Yeah,
teams. But me
yeah.
and you know why we had to do another evolution again. But
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
that team was that was the team that moved us from regular mid-table or looking for top 4 team to a consistent title contender
Challenge.
under. Yeah,
Awesome. Which brings us to the next slide. It talks about how this formation turned us to title contender. Now, if you look at that trio, White, Saka, and Odegaard, their attacking unit was so awesome.
yes.
Although in recent times, right, have been struggling with injuries, lost his place to Timber. Odegaard is not really showing that form of before. But one key thing to know that our formation, we're pressing higher, we control the possession very well. We created lots of overloads in midfield, and of course, generated attacking pressure. But one key player that transformed this was the 105 million signing from West Ham. How good has Declan Rice been for us, man?
Bro, generational. Like he's been what every penny spent on him and more.
I agree.
So this was I believe it was a 22
2024.
23 22 23 season. No, 23 24 season
Yeah, it was
that we
him,
signed.
Havertz, Timber.
Yeah. We signed Declan Rice. And I mean, by then we had already gotten the positional football on lock. But
Mm-hmm.
you see, what happened to the club when in that first season we started competing for the challenging for the title was that the key games against Manchester City, it was clear that there was still a gap between both
Yeah,
clubs.
the miles
And
ahead.
they were miles ahead, and the our team was still very young. At
Yeah.
the same time, they didn't have the transition control ability that you can get from the more mature teams. Okay, they were an emotional bunch. So you see we played a lot of emotional games, 3-3, 3-2, comeback wins.
Mm-hmm.
Those things drain you. Okay,
Yeah.
so the idea behind signing Declan Rice was to put first of all, Declan Rice was probably the best transition controlling midfielder in England or
Yeah.
Europe at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
adding him to the team ensured that when we lost possession, it didn't become a direct referendum on our back line. Okay,
Yeah.
it was there to fish out counter attacks and made us even more dominant, ball dominant in the opposing half. So Declan, if you see, for me, 22-23 team wasn't ready to win a title. They competed for the title, but they were not, for me, they were never, they were not there. But you see, the 23-24 Arsenal
Yeah.
was that was the title. In fact,
Yeah. That was to
that
win the
team was the
title.
team that should
I
have won
agree.
the title. You know,
Yeah, I agree.
but things are surrounding squad depth and the same story, injuries derailed the season, and that
Yeah.
is why from then on the theme of of the squad rebuild was no more about raising the ceiling. It was about building a squad that can
Yeah.
handle disaster.
Yeah, but this is a challenging thing for me. You play 22-23, you just it had to change all of a sudden, no doubt, you come out. You play 23-24, where you were this close to the final day, you lost it. What the hell was 24-25?
No, it happens. 24-25 was a disaster season. Pretty much, I mean, injuries, bad referee. First of all, first day, I mean, second day, you send Declan Rice off for kicking the ball by the side, and we draw the match to Brighton. Okay,
Yeah,
so it was just sometimes you have to hold your hands up and say it was bad. You've had bad luck in a season. Okay, I mean, from January till May, the club didn't play with a recognized striker. We had to convert Merino to a
yeah,
striker. So
madness.
the team didn't have the squad to compete.
Yeah,
The previous season that I told that we agree was the season that we should have won. We were very lucky with injuries. There was no single. We didn't have any.
major
I mean,
injury. Yeah,
we had a complete team throughout, ran them into the ground.
Yeah,
And
even
paid
back it. Yeah, it was
yeah,
surprised to see him that play that long. So that
exactly.
was
We
because of
paid
my
we paid
injury.
we paid the price of 23, 24 the next season. And that was why the key theme behind this recruitment last summer was to build a squad that can last,
Ooh.
that can go through, you know, the ups and downs of an APL season.
Yeah, and now I know about what we actually did a video about this when we ranked all the 8 players that were signed. But 25, 26 has really seen us still have almost the same amount of injuries we had in 24, 25. But now
But
we've managed them.
coping better.
Yeah,
Exactly.
go better. Okay, now let's talk about our evolution, our key tactical innovations under Arteta. Set pieces. What's your take?
So for
Oh
me,
my
it's
God.
not. For me, a lot of the conversations surrounding set pieces is just a bit of clickbaity or overblown.
Yeah.
Listen, Liverpool is well documented. We're the first people. I mean, not the first people, but they made a big deal of set pieces in this league, and it wasn't a problem then. They had specialist throw-in coaches. They had specialist set piece coaches. Manchester City, Mikel brought over to Manchester City. And if I recall, the season Manchester City had their highest points ever was the season he brought over.
Yeah.
And they were the top scorers in the league on set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And also considered the least from set pieces. While the previous year, they considered most of their goals from set pieces. So you can't tell me that, I mean, it's a part of the game, you know. And I don't even consider it a major tactical evolution for us. Arteta has always been clear that he wants to dominate every aspect of the game.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking of tactical evolutions, innovations under Arteta, I'll start with when he moved us, to positional play.
Yeah.
Inverted the fullbacks. That changed how we play. Okay, he changed our rest defense. Arsenal is considered the best out of position team in the
10.
world, bar
Mm-hmm.
none. This is not a conversation that anybody challenges. And that is
Yeah.
a tactical evolution because the way he set the team up, he built a team that has an elite rest defense. So that whenever they funnel the ball into a part of the team, it's almost like a squeeze. They put a squeeze and they retrieve the ball.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay. So we evolved into one of the best defensive teams in the world without the ball. Okay. And even
Mhm.
while attacking, Arsenal has players. And you see, that is also a pro plus and minus because it also makes sure that we do not go gung ho while attacking.
Yeah.
Arsenal players, Arteta evolved the team to always have players that are ready to snuff out attacks. And that sort of engineered the reason why Arsenal is wing heavy. A lot of attacks go out to the wing
To
because
the side. Yeah.
playing in central areas, when you lose the ball there, it
Yeah.
becomes harder to manage. Okay.
True.
When you
True.
lose the ball on the wing, it's easier to manage the loss.
Yeah.
So maybe there are lessons that have been learned. Maybe sometimes there are some games or certain game states that you need to loosen the grip you have on the team and play with more verve or more freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. With the handbrakes off. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But
So
well, another innovation that comes to my mind is the way we press.
yes,
Under Emery, you had less of Guendouzi that were casually walking around. I know Lucas Torreira tried to be like a pit bull, but he didn't have that. He didn't have the agility because he was
he
always
was
getting there.
pressing. They were pressing in isolation.
Yeah.
They weren't pressing as a unit. So how we press now, we press as a unit.
Yeah.
When Kai Havertz goes, you see the two eights are going. Odegaard is going, Trossard is going, everybody, Big Bukayo Saka is going. So what you see is that it's difficult to beat that press. And when you beat the press, you have some of the fastest defenders in Saliba and
Yeah.
Gabriel that you can trust to win their. It's rare to find a player that will beat them in one-on-one duels.
Yeah.
So that's it. It was a squad that was built to play in this way, and also gave us the ability to build up in various ways. Okay, we can build up in a 3-2 structure or a 2-3 structure or a box midfield. It's a very
Tactical
versatile
flexibility.
team,
Yeah.
very flexible and versatile team. And that is
Mhm.
why I tell people that the strength of Arsenal under Arteta has never been on the individuals, it's on the collective and the willingness to play any game that the team, that the match offers you.
Yeah,
So
and I agree because that
yeah,
collective has really come into before. If you look at the Premier League, we're the highest goal scorers in the Premier League,
yeah,
but our highest score is just 10 goals, right? But if you go
exactly.
to the likes of Brentford, the likes of Man City that have all their eggs in one basket, like the Man City were even lucky that they got to Semenyo because if Semenyo had not joined in January, I don't think they would be where they are right now. So I think it's very key to see how the squad has really evolved in that where everyone can actually bring something to the table. But one other thing that I want to talk about briefly is that positional discipline. We tend to occupy zones very well and maintain our structure. Look at the defensive line where you have the likes of Hinkapie, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel. You have a madman in Raya behind them. You see, you have a Rice in front. It's not a no-brainer why these guys have had the best defensive record. So the
Yeah.
question now is, do you think these guys have what it takes to break Chelsea's 15 goal record in the future?
No, I don't even want to go there because that record is it's I think we had discussed it on this podcast
Yeah,
once.
pure haram, right?
It's gonna be difficult to break, And the thing with such records is not something you set out thinking about.
Yeah,
You just keep playing and hope that at some point if you find yourself you take it, but it's not something you have to leave that with Chelsea. It was a magnificent team that 15 goals in a season, bro. That's it's an unstoppable
yeah,
record.
yeah. It's unprecedented, actually, come to think of it. I agree with you. Okay, so we have a couple of folks in the chat from Namdi Kano. He says, spot on analysis on how Arsenal plays as a unit. That is the reason for the success this season. I agree. Because right now we are in March, still competing on all four fronts. And it seems like these guys are energized to actually go for all these competitions. The other teams where, because of Champions League, or I want to sacrifice the FA Cup run and all that. But it seems like, for instance, now tomorrow we have an FA Cup game and we have enough players that we want to rest, and we're actually going to go into that and rest those guys, which is really good. Now, let's just really talk about the future, which is also the final slide. What's next for this Arsenal team tactically? Do you think we're still going to stick with how it's working for us, or do you think that we came into that pressure and play differently? Because, in all honesty, there's so much noise around how we play. The same people that were saying that we don't have enough grit and determination are the ones announcing that we have too much grit and determination. So where do you think we get the balance for this team?
For me, the next step for Arteta's Arsenal is to win major trophies. Listen, this team is a hardened, battle tested machine. Okay,
Yeah,
if there's anything, um, if there's anything I would like to see squad wise, is to add a bit of um, individual brilliance
okay.
in the attack line. I think Arsenal needs to play well to win matches most times. Sometimes when we need a cheat code or a cheat somebody to pick the ball and slap it in from 30 yards and end the
Yeah, we
game
don't have that.
or go on a amazing run. So I think we need to make one, maybe a signing, or maybe it can come from the academy. I don't know, but we need some sort of star dust up front, okay, to help us survive some game states that you do not deserve to win, but outstanding talent wins it for you.
Yeah,
So yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so but isn't this systemic? Because
It
when you look
is.
at the likes of
It is in a
Saka
way.
and Martinelli, who can actually run with the ball, they tend to still have a certain type of way they play because of how I think they're instructed to.
It is in a way. So I mean, if we were lucky to have a a player like, I mean, Barcelona
Alvarez.
But Barcelona wakes up and Yamal shows up from the academy. You understand? So
Yeah.
you can get, there are not too many players like this in the world, but if you are lucky, you can get a listen. Messi defined Pep's Barca and world
Yeah.
football.
Yeah.
So you can get lucky and get a player of that caliber in the team. It doesn't mean we don't need that player to win trophies, okay? But it will help make life easier for us. So for me, the next challenge is to have sustained, success at the elite level, okay?
Yeah.
Key priorities, I mean, maintain our current and squad depth and even have better, manage injuries better,
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
be able to adapt quicker to some different opponents. I think sometimes we're a bit similar.
So,
We play in a
yeah.
similar way to different, different. I would like to see us make some changes in the way we approach certain opponents, especially the opponents that I believe that are on the same, like maybe a bit lowly. We need to
Yeah.
sometimes abandon our structure and just go out
Mm-hmm.
and kill them. You
Yeah,
understand?
I agree. Because if you look at that game against West Ham, where he played Odegaard and Eze with Rice behind them, I was really looking forward to just seeing how that panned out. Unfortunately, Odegaard got in as Mendy came on. I align with you that there are some games where you don't use Mendy and Rice. Rice can actually play as a holding midfielder, and that will
Exactly.
allow you to play the likes of Odegaard and Eze. I really want to see Odegaard and Eze play together and just see how they're going to cook because that could really help against all these teams that are having low blocks and all that, and that's very key.
Yeah. So to add one more thing, my hope
Mm-hmm.
is that we win the league. Okay, which I
Mm-hmm.
believe is looking like we can get there across the line. The team is experienced. The Arsenal team is more experienced than the Manchester City team. I looked
Yeah,
at those squads. Yeah, I
so many
mean,
new players.
it can be. They have a lot of players that have not won too. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so the advantage they have is that they have Pep, who is a
Yes.
serial winner. Okay, but this team, the Arsenal team, is ready to win, and they
Yeah.
need to win. Okay, my hope is that when they win, eh, and probably win the league, that it doesn't signal the end. Okay, what I need from the team is to win and
And we
usher in
consistent
a period of
dominance.
dominance for the
Yeah.
team because this squad was built carefully and this squad deserves to win a lot of trophies, not just to win one APL and vanish and become a
Yeah.
laughing stock
Yeah.
and start get smashed all over the place. No, for me, that's also failure. The team needs to win and win consistently. And that is the only thing that for me can justify the effort and the energy that has been put into constructing this team.
I
So
agree.
the
I
bar
agree.
shouldn't just be, oh, you win one title and you are okay, we've done well. And Mikel goes on holiday. No, the team needs to win and it needs to win consistently, big trophies.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they built a team that is genuinely top three in the world. I can't, you know, it's
Yeah.
if saying that the Arsenal team is a top three team in the world is not being looking at it from with a rose tinted glasses is actually
Yeah.
reality. Some
Yeah.
people will tell you that
Yeah.
Arsenal
Because
is
even,
the
even
best
the
team
time
in
we
the
put
world.
Bayern Munich were in the form of their lives actually, right?
Exactly.
And we cooked them.
So if everybody agrees that your club is the best, is one of the top three teams in the world, why don't you think you need to have a period of dominance in Europe? It needs to be done.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so this brings us, towards the let's run out of the stream. Let's talk about Julian Alvarez. He has been linked with the club, 100 million move. Do you think his son is going to move the needle?
So Alvarez, for me, he will replace if I have Alvarez ahead instead of Gyökeres. That is an upgrade on the for the club, as far as I'm concerned. If it's not looking like Jesus is going to get a contract,
Mm-hmm.
if Jesus goes and you replace with Alvarez, net, yes, you probably just about increase the quality of the club, the squad a bit. So
Okay.
definitely Alvarez is a player that I'll happily take at the Arsenal, and he's definitely going to add some a bit of skill and unpredictability to our forward play. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Then what about the left wing? Trossard is 31, turning on 32. Martinelli continues to remain inconsistent. Do you think the long-term plan will be to shunt easy to the left wing, or should we still go to the market to sign a winger? And if we are to go to the market, who is your ideal list?
so the Arsenal left wing is where I feel there is big room for improvement. That is where I think the squad can gain a player. Semenyo should have, we should have been in that
Ooh,
conversation.
yeah,
So
65
if we,
mil. So
we should
cheap.
have been in that conversation, but I understand why we were not there because we just signed Eze, and it would have been an overkill of the squad. And I
True.
also know that Arsenal is not run by an oil-rich state, so they don't have the same resources like some
Yeah,
other
like
people
City.
do.
Yeah.
But on the left flank, probably this guy will go Trossard, and
Mhm.
if
Who will you
there's good
sign?
money for Martinelli, I think the club will listen to offers. I think Martinelli is not off
The table.
out, you know he's there. He can be sold. So I think if we are looking at last summer, I really wanted Rodrigo. I felt he was going to be.
Like
I felt
Sanchez, yeah?
I felt he could have played for Arsenal, properly. And you see, people think that because he's had a lukewarm season for Real Madrid that he's suddenly crap. No, I don't look at football that way. I feel that players play with, if the conditions are right, you can still get the best out of a player, especially if he's still young and capable.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
because
so
if you look at Sanchez at Barcelona and Sanchez at
yeah,
Arsenal, it was very clear.
so if Rodrigo is on the table, I'll take him and as an Arsenal left winger. If we are looking domestically, because I've noticed that a lot of Premier League
Gordon.
top clubs are now looking domestic. I'm not a fan of Gordon. Okay, let me rephrase. I don't have anything against him, but I don't think Gordon moves the needle for us. You know, we need we need devastating, we need consequences
Yeah.
on the left wing. You understand? So teams find it easy to gang up on our right wing, and when we switch the ball to the left wing, there are no consequences.
Yeah.
We need a player that will punish teams for giving him space on the left wing. And that is the only time you can truly stretch teams and create gaps in the middle for your other better players to play. So it could be anybody. I mean, that's one for me. I don't mind Rodrigo. I think he has the skill level. In the Premier League, Semenyo, the one I would have looked at, it has gone to Manchester City. Okay.
Mhm.
And if the Spurs are relegated, I don't think there's any player in Spurs that I'll consider to take at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Maybe Pedro Porro, as maybe I can see that Ben White has become a basket case, and I
Yeah.
don't know how fit he's going to be. So I don't mind Pedro Porro pairing with Timber on the right. I'll
Okay.
take
So,
him. I'll take Pedro Porro at Spurs
okay.
to add to the squad.
Then finally, what do you think about Sandro Tonali in midfield? Is he someone
Um,
that we should consider? Bearing in
yeah,
mind that Norgard is almost 33, Odegaard
yes,
is having fitness issues, and
yes,
Zubi
yes.
Zubi looks knackered.
Yes. Sandro Tonali is a player that I'll consider at the Arsenal. I think we're in for him in January, right? It was
Yeah,
reported.
he reported.
I don't think that conversation has ended. In the summer, I will probably go back again. There is a connection between the sporting director and him, and I
Yeah,
believe that connection will be explored again in the summer, with also potentially Merino being. I mean, we have a lot of senior pros that are multi positional.
yeah.
Merino finds himself as one of like a third wheel striker these days. So if we are going to lose, if the space opens up in midfield for another player, I think Tonali is the kind of midfielder that can come in. He's already experienced the Premier League.
Yeah,
I can see him just blending and fitting into the play,
and
into the team.
he has a very good long shot on him as well.
He
I
shoots with
think
power. Yeah.
we lack that. Like Silas Zubimendi goal against Sunderland.
Yeah,
There's kind of opportunities that pop up like that we need to explain that we just do not.
yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So Tino, thank you so much for tonight's stream. This was really
Thank you
good
so
cooking
much.
with you.
Thank you so much.
So obviously tomorrow the Mansfield game. Yeah, let's just quickly talk about that. Rotation is imminent, right? What would be your ideal starting XI for that game?
Bro, if it was possible to play the under nines, I'll do that. If it was possible to play the under nines, I'll do that at Mansfield. But that's not how our coach thinks. So
Mhm.
I'd like to see Salmon play.
No,
I'd
so
like
give me your full XI. Start from Kepa to attack.
Okay, so Kepa in goal, Salmon right back. I don't know if Saliba is okay. Gabriel has to rest.
Mhm.
Big Gabi needs to rest. So maybe Saliba, because we do not have another young centre back to play alongside Salman. So Saliba probably needs to play some minutes
Mhm.
there. Then maybe alongside Mosquera
Okay.
or the Italian stallion Calafiore.
Yeah.
Okay. Then Miles Lewis Kelly in
He's
left
not
back.
available.
Oh, he's not. He's red
Yeah,
carded already.
you got a yellow card against Portsmouth, got a yellow card
Oh,
against
oh,
Wigan.
oh,
So he's
oh, oh.
suspended.
So yeah.
Terrible.
So we have a situation where I'd like to have Hincapi and Gabriel rest, but that might not be
It's
possible
not
with
possible.
what we are having. So I'll probably take Calafiore in the defense and Hincapi left back. Okay.
Okay.
Then in midfield, obviously Nogard
Mm-hmm.
will play. Now the choice will have to be should be Mendy gas to rest. He has played too many matches.
Yes.
So I'll do Norgard in midfield. I'll do I don't know if Odegaard is available to play.
No, probably not. No. I think we're trying to get him for Everton.
Because I heard that he's touch wood that he might be possible. But well, if Odegaard can get minutes, he won't start. He'll
Yeah.
probably come. So I'll probably do who is available. I'm just trying to think the most. I mean, I'll play Eze. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll give Norgard and Eze in central midfield.
Mm-hmm.
Then Noni
So,
Madueke.
no, but someone is missing. We play with three midfielders. Nogard, Easy, and home.
I'll play Norgard, Eze, and
Kai?
if I'm to pick, I'll have to deck over.
No, he needs a rest too, man.
Man, Declan has the rest.
Havertz.
Who is fit?
Havertz.
Yeah, no, Havertz will play, but I wanted to play him up front with Jesus. Okay, yeah, I'll play Havertz. I'll play
Yeah.
Havertz in midfield, play Jesus up front. Play
Uh-huh.
Martinelli on the left and Nani on the right.
Right. Okay.
Yes. Then Dowman to come in.
Yeah, he needs to get some minutes too
Yeah,
from
he
his
will come
soul.
in. He will play. He will take minutes.
And
He
then
will take minutes.
what about those other young lads, the ones with like the Ibrahim Ife, a
So
couple
all
of
those
guys against
guys,
Carriot.
all those guys will be finishers. 60th minute finishers. The first team guys are going to be there for a blip test. 60 minutes, they'll jet out and the kids will come and finish the match.
Okay, so
Whatever
finally,
whatever they do is fine. If they get knocked out, it's okay.
oh really? You don't want to win the FA Cup?
No, it's not that I don't think I think that we can focus on I'm not saying that we should throw the FA Cup, but I don't think we should remain in the competition at all costs. We have serious listen, there's an international window coming. Okay?
Yeah.
And
But for
nation-
World Cup qualifying, yeah.
for World Cup preparation.
Players,
And
yes.
and national team managers are not smiling
Yeah.
because they are trying to prepare for the World Cup. But at the same time, this is the window where I believe the club should spend time trying to get a couple of players not to play, because the national team should also understand that you want these players to come in the summer fit. What will happen if you release Mendy to Spain and he goes and does his hammy? So
something, yeah.
the traveling is a lot. All the guys going to South America for one should not go there. Gabriel Magalhaes got injured in the last international window. So, I mean, these are serious football matches we are talking about. So, Mansfield and the FA Cup, to me, can do one. I'm really not interested in that conversation. We're in the cup final. Focus on winning the cup final. Focus on the Premier League running and the Champions League. If we win the FA Cup match, fine. we keep playing a degraded squad there till when they get knocked out, or if they get to the final, great. If you now play and get to the semi-finals, maybe you can start taking it seriously. But I'm not a fan of committing resources to that competition when you're in 3 other competitions and active. It's not like you are struggling. Like
Yeah.
Liverpool can afford to play their strongest team in the FA Cup because
We have nothing else.
it will help. But we are in the thick of the title running and clear potential to make it to the Champions League semi-final against Barcelona. I mean, I'm not discrediting all the clubs there, but
Yeah.
there's no Arsenal fan that will look at that half of the draw and say that we have not gotten a very good draw.
Yes. Yeah.
You understand? We usually get difficult draws in the Champions League.
Yeah.
This is the
Consistently.
easiest draw I've
And we
ever
can never
seen,
have. Yeah. I
and
agree.
we can never have. So if it's about getting, so I believe the club should prioritize the Champions League and the Premier League, and get the Carabao Cup we're already in the final, is one match. So obviously they're gonna play a strong team there. But you see this FA Cup, play whatever ragtag team you can put together and let them deal. If they get knocked out by, I don't even know the division Mansfield is playing in,
Yeah. League
so
One.
be it. Let them go. We focus our resources on where the focus should be. Another FA Cup in the Arsenal trophy cabinet, for me, it doesn't make any change for me this season. We have better chances of winning other trophies this season than an FA Cup. FA Cup still requires a few more rounds. And these are rounds, matches that are going to be played in and around Premier League matches, in and around Champions League matches. Man, bro, we don't have the resources to play these games. And I can tell you that I see Manchester City making a business decision too this weekend against Newcastle.
Newcastle.
Against Newcastle, yeah.
And that's why that money reload just feels some type of way right now. That would have been very vital for us now in this kind of games.
Yeah, but he wasn't playing. So, I mean, he also needed to play.
No, obviously, but with the Merino injury, hindsight is,
His
but
hindsight is always.
at that point in time, he needed to have gone, sure.
Yeah.
All right, Luki, thank you so much. As always, good to have you on
Nice
the
one.
stream. And we'll see ourselves in the future again. You take care.
Definitely.
Bye, bro.
Bye, guys.